So anybody who's
Okay.
been closely monitoring the situation in Pakistan as well as in Kashmir would realize that, there was this frustration that had to come out some way or the other. You have intelligence that Pakistan wants to do something. You also have intelligence that Pakistan wants to perhaps target a tourist location.
Okay.
But you do not know where. You do not know who will do it, when they will do it. Kashmir and Jammu are huge places, and there are terrorists hiding inside forests, deep inside forests, and there are locals who are supporting in many ways. I've seen very gory videos of dead bodies lying all across the fields, and everybody was not killed
We
point
were.
blank range.
Yes.
And from far, they were also killed. And 90% of the dead bodies have headshot wounds. See, when Kashmiri Hindu exodus happened in 1990, ethnic cleansing of Hindus from Kashmir,
Yes.
there were no protests.
Okay.
When J&K Assembly was targeted, when Indian Parliament was targeted, there were no protests.
There were.
When they heard that Hindus were targeted, and that too, tourists were asked their religion, and then they were killed. Religion is being used for terrorism by Pakistan. Sorry for my terms, does not have the balls to take any such steps.
Yes.
You have phone recordings of Sajid Mir, one of the masterminds of the Mumbai 2611,
Yes.
giving instructions to people in Kabad House that these Jews need to be killed. Kill them. The United Nations has completely failed when it comes to terrorism, when it comes to counter-terrorism. I mean, India could be the third largest economy, but this war could bring that down to the sixth or seventh largest
Yes.
economy.
Thank you so much, Aditya. You have again took out time for us to understand something. I think repeatedly for years you have been talking about it, and now that we come to understand or not understand, it is not the right way we should have come to discussing this.
Yeah.
For you, just going straight to understanding why Pahalgam and why now. What is your with this incident? How do you lead us into the Kashmir terror that we talk about?
Well, there's been a growing frustration. There's a growing frustration that people have had across the border with what has been happening in the Kashmir Valley.
Okay.
And that growing frustration is the reason that we saw Pahalgam. If we study the pattern, or anybody who's been following Pakistan and the situation in Kashmir would realize that, over the last many years.
So, Aditya, as we were talking about, why do you think this Pahalgam incident happened also? And that too 22nd April. Is there anything to understand, or just look at it as an incident that happened that day? How do we look at this?
Firstly, with a lot of situation changing in the Kashmir Valley over the last 6 years, there's been a growing frustration in Pakistan. So anybody who's been closely monitoring the situation in Pakistan as well as in Kashmir would realize that, there was this frustration that had to come out some way or the other. Many were feeling that the Pakistani deep state is changing its tactics towards Jammu, because in Kashmir they have completely choked. The security forces are not letting them do any major terror activity, and things are happening in Jammu. But Jammu in many ways could have been a diversionary tactic also. And if anybody saw that speech of the Pakistan Army Chief Asim Munir maybe 2 or 3 weeks back, we would have realized that, he's frustrated. His body language was nervous, frustration, and, out of control. Usually Pakistan Army chiefs have things under control. Usually they're the political class of Pakistan reports to the army chief. Everybody else reports to them. And nothing can move. Even a leaf cannot move without the knowledge and the approval of the Pakistan Army chief sitting in Rawalpindi.
True.
And when he went on an anti-Hindu, an anti-India rant during that speech, it was clearly visible that he wants to do something. He wants to do something that attracts attention, puts him in place of control and power, and internationalizes the Jammu and Kashmir situation as well. So,
and Aditya, you have to tell us one thing. If you're saying there was a piling on frustration and we were watching it, you are giving us the symptoms that were there. Now in retrospect, how can we miss it? I mean, are we not aware we had Article 370 abrogation just there? So we were not looking at they taking an action. How do you explain or justify this frustration?
Often what happens is that you have intelligence,
Yes.
You have intelligence that Pakistan wants to do something. You also have intelligence that Pakistan wants to perhaps target a tourist location.
Okay.
But you do not know where. You do not know who will do it, when they will do it. So they did have knowledge, the Indian security forces and intelligence apparatus, at least a part of them.
Yes.
They were thinking that it will happen in Srinagar. They were thinking that it could happen in Jammu. They even considered places like, near Dal Lake, near the Mughal Gardens in Srinagar. They even considered Vaishno Devi in Jammu and many other places. But nobody realized that something of this sort could happen in Pahalgam. One is this lackadaisical approach because, there was this understanding that Pakistani terrorists or even Kashmiri Muslim terrorists will not target tourist locations because this hampers not just tourist activity but the economic activity of the local Kashmiri Muslim population.
And they would get against their support as well. If
Yes.
try to
So
damage
this was
their
an understanding, Nobody said anything. There was no agreement. There was no treaty. But over the years, it's likely that, the tourist attacks are at the most minimal that have happened in the last 35 years. So that's why the security forces had this almost given कि भाई पहलगाम में या गुलमर्ग में or places like that will not be attacked. In my case also, I went with my family for the first time to Pahalgam last year, along with my family members. I visited all the places and, freely. I saw thousands of tourists doing that as well. So at that time, I wouldn't have guessed that anything of this sort would happen. But as I said, there is specific actionable intelligence required for operations to take place. And people are upset that it's an intelligence failure, it's a security failure. It is. But at the same time, you don't always get lucky with specific intelligence because Kashmir and Jammu are huge places. And there are terrorists hiding inside forests, deep inside forests. And there are locals who are supporting in many ways, giving them overground support. So that's how it becomes difficult.
Aditya, you have been reporting it extensively for years. You think we were not supposed to calculate the consequence of any action India has taken? Article 370 was a victory which we celebrated out and out. Don't you think India should have also measured the repercussion of anything that comes with a cost? Have we? It is not just the intelligence we can question. It is the political, the government also we want to understand. They took such a big step. We have a movie which clearly tells civilians how it went about. So in your knowledge, in your understanding, do you think they missed out, or in the victorious achievement they thought it is going to be so easy that nothing can go wrong about having
I don't think so.
And it is not an act to disrupt or give back on that victory of India.
When 370 happened, I was tracking situation very closely. At that time, they had a very foolproof political plan, diplomatic plan, security plan. It was hats off to the security forces, diplomats in particular, who handled it quite well. Not a single casualty happened during that entire process.
True.
And let me tell you that the MHA had fears that one, there will be a rebellion, and secondly, there will be massive casualties. But no casualties happened at that time. Yes, one thing happened that a new kind of this terrorism began, which was like, anybody who was radicalized was given a gun, was given a pistol. He used to do that terror attack, mainly against minority Kashmiri Pandits, mainly against people from Bihar, UP and other states of India coming to work in Jammu and Kashmir as migrant laborers, or even, Golgappe walas or carpenters or truck drivers. They were attacked. So these killings increased during 2021, 22, 23. But nobody realized that an attack of the caliber of Pulwama or Uri or even bigger could happen in Pahalgam. So on 18th of Feb this year, I wrote an article after studying a pattern of the Pakistan army and what happened in Balochistan and other places. I wrote an article saying India must be prepared for a new wave of jihadist terrorism in the Kashmir Valley. And this, I felt that in summer of 2025, something will happen. If you read that article, it will become amply clear that something was off and something could happen.
Where is the inspiration of this kind of terrorism that you have been pointing out in your article?
I'll tell you what happened in Balochistan. Activities in Balochistan.
I partly saw the glimpse of your documentary also.
Yeah. So what's been happening in Balochistan for many years, but in particular last 3 years, has been concerning for the Pakistan army. And Pakistan army, without evidence, without reason, has been blaming India for what's been happening in Balochistan. Now, in Balochistan, Baloch rebels have picked up arms. There's an armed struggle underway against the Pakistani state, against the Pakistan army. And there is a parallel peaceful movement also underway by Mehrang Baloch, by Sami Baloch, by many others who have been arrested now.
Yes.
And under draconian law by the military. and they have no rights at all. So there's been a few weeks back, a massive terror attack that took place on Jafar Express, a very popular train in Balochistan, and many people died. The BLA, which is the Baloch Liberation Army, which had this attack, they claimed that more than 100 people died. But the Pakistani military said that around 26 or 27 people died, including military and civilian personnel. Now, Asim Munir was furious. Asim Munir was so furious that during that entire attack, he took a pledge that he will take revenge against India. Again, without any evidence, nothing. I mean, ideally, if there was any evidence or something against India, he would have reached out to the United Nations. He would have reached out to the Western countries to put pressure on India. But nothing of that sort happened. And instead, they took a pledge to attack India. And now you can imagine the casualties that happened in Balochistan as per the Pakistani army are the same casualties that happened in Balochistan, almost same, 26. So when this attack happened, and as per the eyewitness accounts in Pahalgam, there was somebody so fit that he was holding this huge American assault rifle and he was taking headshots, almost pinpoint headshots of all the civilians. So I've seen very gory videos of dead bodies lying all across the fields, and everybody was not killed point blank range. And from far they were also killed. And 90% of the dead bodies have headshot wounds on their head. So this was a Pakistani SSG commando working with the Pakistan army, who has been recruited by Lashkar-e-Toiba, who's been given and offered by the Pakistan army to the Lashkar-e-Toiba, who did this attack. So one may say that Lashkar-e-Toiba is involved in this attack, and Jaish-e-Mohammed is, and other terror groups are. But the epicenter, the main conspirator, the main mastermind is the Pakistan army, is Asim Munir. The buck stops at Asim Munir. I mean, when Mumbai 26/11 attack happened, we said it's Lakhvi and Hafiz Saeed and Lashkar-e-Toiba.
But with the evidence that you are quoting, is that enough to go back to that conclusion that yes, the style of shooting, the pattern in which the execution has happened can relate us to go back to...
No. I mean, the NIA and the JNK police will investigate this further. I mean, they will put out all the evidence. There's no... I mean, I'm pretty sure they have digital evidence, they have OGWs, they have other things to prove this. They have photographs of these terrorists that they can mix and match. So I can tell you with my experience and what I've heard from the sources within NIA, JNK police and the intelligence network, that there was an SSG commando, and currently there are 15 to 20 similar SSG commandos or people who have got trained with SSG commandos from Pakistan in Kashmir in hiding. So there's a possibility of similar attacks happening in future as well. So one cannot just brush this off completely. So one was this Balochistan. Second was this narrative of Naya Kashmir. New Kashmir of prosperity, peace, stability, economic activity, tourism, massive rush in hotels.
The development that was coming.
The development model of Modi and others. So, just a second.
So that has become a major fear.
Yeah, so that has become a major frustrating point for the Pakistan army and the Pakistan deep state. So they wanted to burst this bubble of Narendra Modi and Manoj Sinha and others who were daily speaking about normalcy, who wanted peace, who wanted prosperity. Pakistan army was frustrated. They were like, हमने 30 साल से ये मुहिम जिहाद लड़ा है, तो किसके लिए? और कश्मीरी हमारा साथ नहीं दे रहे. I mean, now imagine.
It is like your own people, जिनको आपने इतना brainwash करके you've grown them, they have turned against you.
Exactly. So for the first time, I've seen Kashmiris coming out and protesting against Pakistan and these killings. I mean,
and that is not just defense of something gone wrong for them. Like they did not do it; they meant it genuinely. You think the Kashmiris?
I'll tell you. When Kashmiri Hindu exodus happened in 1990, ethnic cleansing of Hindus from Kashmir, there were no protests.
Okay.
When J&K Assembly was targeted, when Indian Parliament was targeted, there were no protests.
There were no protests.
When the Mumbai 26/11 attack happened, there were no protests. When Pathankot happened, when Uri happened, when Nagrota happened, and finally when Pulwama happened, there were no protests. There was no Indian flag also flying in Kashmir Valley. But things have changed in the last 6 years.
It's like because you've hit out on their everyday livelihood.
Yeah, so Kashmiris have tasted peace. Kashmiris have tasted prosperity. So for the last 6 years, once, जैसे बोलते हैं ना कि शेर को जब ह्यूमन फ्लैश खून लग जाता है तो वो he wants to hunt a human. Reverse this. when the common population of Kashmir finally tasted peace after 3 or 4 decades, they realized the economic potential and the
And the
schools running.
inclusiveness they got with the country.
Yes.
Yes.
So they said, boss, we have nothing to do with Pakistan. We are happy under the ambit of the Indian democracy and secularism and the Indian constitution, which protects us, gives us opportunities. I mean, in last 30 years, there was no year when schools and colleges ran complete. They used to be shut down. I mean, separatists like Gilani, Yasin Malik, Mirwai, Shabir Shah and others used to ensure that economic activity is curtailed. Lal Chowk and other markets are shut down. There are protests, violent protests and stone pelting. You've seen visuals of the kind of stone pelting that used to happen.
Yes.
So half of the people who are coming are from this frustration that finally we had prosperity. I mean, why are you doing this to us? Why are you targeting a tourist location?
It's like the opening of their eyes. They have awakened to the reality somehow.
I am not too sure that everybody has still opened their eyes, but I find this as a positive development. That even if
about the pattern of killing, again, you clearly said about one pattern of how they have, the terrorist or the one who've executed have done it, but about the pattern of Hindu-Muslim, do we read into it? Is that complete? Because it did not impact so much in the country. We have not gone completely distributed as Hindu-Muslims have started against each other. Was it even in the plan?
There are two things that need to be kept in mind.
Okay.
One, the country shook when they heard that Hindus were targeted, and that too, tourists were asked their religion and then they were killed. I mean, many people are saying that there was a Muslim also killed, and it's not just Hindus. I would like to remind them that that was a collateral damage. I mean, they didn't specifically kill a Muslim. They specifically asked for the identities of the people.
Somebody died, yes.
That was just I don't know if he was protecting someone. I don't know if he was a collateral damage. Nobody, not a single eyewitness has said till now that he was protecting. Even if he was, I mean, I respect and I, really pay my tributes that he is also a casualty for India. He's also a martyr for India. But you need to keep this in mind that this was not the first time that Hindus are targeted in Kashmir. I mean, what happened in 1990? What happened in 89? What about Tikalal Taplu, Neelkant Ganju, Sarvanand Kaul Premi, many other popular Hindus from Kashmir, originally Kashmiri Hindus? They were selectively targeted.
Not a fight against Indians, it is a fight against Hindus.
It's both. Hindus are seen as the main representatives of India.
Okay.
Hindus are seen as the main representatives of J&K Police, Indian Army, IB, RNAW, and now the Modi government.
Yes.
So, Hindus were targeted. Selective targeting of hundreds and thousands of Hindus took place in 1990. Even after that, a lot of massacres happened in Nadigram, in other places across the Kashmir Valley. Similar, killings happened against the Sikh community in Chhattisgarh, when 30 to 36 Sikhs were killed in a similar manner. And at that time also, US President was visiting. And this time as well, US Vice President J.D. Vance was visiting.
The timing,
So they wanted to internationalize it. And Prime Minister Modi was in Saudi.
It was a message to internationally called out.
So people in the country need to realize that Pakistan does not care. Pakistan is in a jihadist frenzy and it wants to target Hindus. Now, journalists and editors who want to monkey balance and go to Kashmir and say, nahi, Hindus ke khilaf kuch nahi hai, locals to apni jaan dene ke liye tayar hai, nothing like that. I mean, locals are supporting. I'm not generalizing, but I'm saying that OGWs who are there in the Kashmir Valley are Kashmiri Muslims of Lashkar-e-Toiba, of Jaish-e-Mohammed, etc. Now, if a common person in Kashmir says that hamara kuch lena dena nahi hai, I respect that. But he needs to also admit that there is a section of the population, even if 1% or 4% or 0.1%, which is supporting Lashkar-e-Toiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed. So you need to openly expose them. You need to expose them and dissociate from them immediately. So this is the game plan. They want to eliminate Hindus and, straight away give a message to Prime Minister Modi that we are here, the proxy war is here, the terrorism is here, and we are not going anywhere. So there's a growing frustration with Prime Minister Modi also. What happened during Pahalgam? I mean, when the killings happened, only the male members were killed. And the wives and the daughters and the mothers were told,
they were left out.
Aapko isliye chhod rahe hain, you are being spared so that you go and tell your Prime Minister what we can do and what we are here to do. So this is a message directly from Asim Munir and Pakistan Army. And India cannot take it lightly. It's an attack on Indian people. It's an attack on Indian sovereignty. It's an attack on Indian Parliament, Indian Constitution, and the Indian Prime Minister. So yes, India is taking a very calculated call. See, India doesn't want a war. But
We
India
don't
also
want an
wants the
internal
other way.
war also, right? We don't want Hindu Muslims in India to start fighting with each other. Do you
Yeah.
also want to protect that area where, as you're saying, Kashmiris are there? We can't say it was not against Hindu, but how do you answer to the Muslims in the country? Do you want to also set a narrative for which some journalists have gone overboard to protect them?
Muslims are as much Indians as I am as a Hindu. There's no doubt about that. And I have publicly stated on my X and otherwise also very positive statements that have come out from even people like OAC,
Yeah.
who has actually spoken against Pakistan and asked the Muslim community to wear black bands in solidarity with the victims. This is India. This is what India stands for. This is the real secularism. When Muslims, Sikhs, Hindus, Jains, Buddhists, Christians, everyone comes together against this Islamist terrorism that's coming in. I'm saying Islamist and I'm not saying Islamic. I'm not generalizing. But I'm saying that the religion is being used for terrorism by Pakistan. It's being used to motivate young brainwashed minds to conduct these jihadist attacks against Hindus or others. I mean, there are thousands of Muslims who have died in the process by Pakistani terrorism in Kashmir. One needs to admit that as well. So I think, India has been through this in the past in the form of several terror attacks. India has withstood the test of time. India has seen a lot of these tactics by Pakistan to divide Hindus and Muslims. I don't think this division is going to.
I think we've grown above that. We are looking for the real reason. It's
on social media, you will see. On social media, you will see a lot of chatter. That doesn't matter.
But I think the youth is much above all this. We can
yes, I think Indians stand together. The politicians stand together. And Pakistan will get a strong response.
You have spoken clearly from the first interaction live. I had gone to yours only. I think everybody goes to yours. Your information more is one. You said clearly no war. You were the first one as this incident happened to come out and question people. Do you not think we should close the treaty, the water treaty? Do you not think we should close the corridors? And within few hours, we saw that all implemented. So please explain us when you say don't go for war, and then you're doing all the other actions which are again frustrating the other party to go for war. What are you trying to strategize here? What are you expecting the country to do?
When we can bring Pakistan to its knees without a war, why not? And, there's this old saying about winning a war without even fighting it. So, I think it's a Chinese proverb.
Yes.
But, the thing is that India can use all the diplomatic, economic and other activities, which it is over the last 2 weeks. It's been 13 days, I guess. So I think let them do that. I mean, why not explore everything possible?
But at the
till we
cost
go to the
of
lethal
any
move.
more terror attack and cost of lives for civilians, are we ready to? Because our weak point is they can attack our civilians. They do not give a damn. They have no rules, no protocols, which we have.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I'll also explain you this way. If 100 people die in Pakistan in some attack,
okay,
nobody will care. I'm not saying about international community. I'm saying about Pakistanis. I'm saying about
they
Pakistani
themselves
government.
don't care about them.
They don't care about killings. I mean, that's like cannon fodder. Arey mar gaye to mar gaye. It's like that.
It's a cruelty. It's a inhuman approach
to a very terrible attack took place few years back on an army public school, I think, in which many innocent children died. But koi hue and cry nahi, nothing at all. I mean, for 2-3 days we saw on televisions people crying and candle marches and protests. After that, they've forgotten it. Okay. Today, I mean, if you see Mumbai 26/11 attack anniversary, there are massive events that happen not just in Mumbai but throughout the country. On Pulwama anniversary, there are massive, not just in Lethpura and Pulwama but across the country. We remember our martyrs. They don't remember their martyrs.
Yes,
what happened in Kargil? In Kargil, they did not accept the dead bodies.
We had the 25th anniversary year. We remember our martyrs.
We remember our martyrs. In Kargil, they did not accept the dead bodies. Years later, the family members of those Pakistani army men reached out to the Indian government silently, not through official channels. And dead bodies were returned. Imagine what India did. We returned the dead bodies.
How will we fight such a cruel piece of group of people? Do you think we are ready for that kind of a cruelty to give, to unleash and to take back? If you're saying they're so cruel and insensitive, ruthless piece of whatever, how do we deal? Where would we go? Because India has certain sense of values.
You don't always get to choose your battles.
Okay.
I mean, I often say that one should very wisely choose our battles. But in this case, if you are, in the heart of your country, there are terror attacks happening for decades together, and you have tried every method. You have tried dialogue. You have tried, fighting. There are 3 wars that have happened. You have won every war, and yet this jihadist mentality of proxy war continues, and terrorism is used as a state policy by Pakistan. What is the other way? I mean, I don't want a war. I don't want to see killings. I don't want India, which is now perhaps the 4th largest economy and will
Go
soon be the
back.
3rd largest economy, to go down. I don't want that. I don't want our population to suffer. But I don't also want this terrorism. So, what is the way out? Is war a way out? Maybe. Because, in this particular case, what I'll tell you is that Pakistan cannot fight a war. Pakistan cannot sustain a long war. Their economy is completely sinking. They do not have ammunition to that level stored right now, which will take them beyond 6 to 7 days. So that is the situation.
They can't be backed by China, or they cannot have any such.
No, they will be backed by China. I mean, the only 3 countries that support Pakistan right now are China, Turkey, and Azerbaijan.
Yes.
China has huge investments in Pakistan, including the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, including huge natural resources where digging, etc., excavation is happening in Balochistan. And Turkey has massive defense and strategic partnerships at Navy, Air Force, Army level with Pakistan. So obviously they have their self-interest also. So the Chinese and the Turkish people will give them ammunition, will give them naval submarines, etc. Will give them fighter jets.
Yes.
That will happen. But China and Turkey directly getting involved with a conflict or a military confrontation will not happen. Also, I want to put it this way, that if you compare the situation right now with 2019 and 2016, I think we are in a better position because Americans are supporting us. The West is supporting us. The Middle East has a growing realization of Islamist terrorism in Pakistan. They are supporting us. They want trade with India. The global South, of which India has emerged a leader, is supporting us. So there are these 3 major, parts of the world which are great admirers of India, of India's leadership, of India's people. And because of the population and the scale, they want trade, they want economic activity, they want business with India and not with Pakistan. Over the years, Pakistan has gone to the Muslim world against India. But has it borne any results for Pakistan? I don't think so. After 370, this happened. They went there. But Saudi and UAE wants to be seen with India and Modi rather than, a failed leadership in Pakistan, because, normally negotiations happen with the Pakistan army chief there. The Shehbaz Sharif is a puppet.
Yes.
You will never see Americans first having a negotiation with Shehbaz Sharif. You will directly see them meeting the Pakistan army chief. So in Pakistan, nobody is in control right now. The economy has failed. The political leadership has failed. The army political conflict is visible because Imran Khan was their puppet and now he's abusing them. He's in jail. And then their own security situation has been worsening, with Balochistan up in arms against Pakistan army, where Pashtun Tahaffuz movement up in arms against the Pakistan army in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, with the TTP, the brothers of the Taliban, against the Pakistani state, killings happening every possible day. So Pakistan is under growing threat and pressure right now. Nobody in the world wants to associate themselves with Pakistan. So I would say that India shouldn't do anything in haste. I am all for a kinetic operation against Pakistan to teach them a lesson so strong that they think 100 times before another Pahalgam, another Pulwama. But it has to be done at a time and place of our own choosing, not because people are upset, emotional, etc.
And do you not think they were also prepared that we would come up with such diplomatic actions? I mean, they
100%.
have thought.
100%. I don't think that they had expected Indus Water Treaty abeyance, because they thought World Bank has negotiated it and there will be international pressure, etc. Nothing of that sort happened. And I mean, look at this. India officially sent a letter to Pakistan saying that, we are almost suspending. I won't use the word suspension, but abeyance. Indus Water Treaty. That means that we are not obligated to respecting any of the terms of the Indus Water Treaty. We'll do whatever is best for our national interest. And we will be doing
And you
it.
think that was not expected by them?
They didn't expect this. This was discussed in 2019 also, but they thought, nahi, India nahi karega, isme to international haakar mat jayega, ye hoga. Nothing happened. Nobody cares about Pakistan today. Secondly, immediately after that, they came out with a National Security Committee meeting where they said that Shimla Agreement को हम suspend कर देंगे as a response to Indus Water Treaty. अभी
Yes.
तो 13 दिन हो गए हैं, कोई आपने शिमला अग्रीमेंट बंद नहीं किया, आपने एक चिट्ठी नहीं लिखी, आपने अनाउंसमेंट नहीं किया, आपने कोई ऐसा कोई गैजेट नोटिफिकेशन नहीं इशू किया. So that means that Pakistan, sorry for my terms, does not have the balls to take any such steps. So as of now, Pakistan is out of options. Pakistan either wants a military confrontation, and for that they don't have the kind of ammunition, etc., to sustain. They just want to come out with a nuclear threat, etc. Because I can tell you, Pakistan is begging the West and the Muslim countries to mediate. It's begging Saudi Arabia, Iran, and US to mediate with India. It doesn't want a military confrontation. Secondly, an NSA has been appointed overnight. The notification came at midnight. That means that they want back channel dialogue with the Indian NSA Doval, and that's why an NSA has been pointed out. So overall situation is tense, yes, but for the Indian population, I would say don't panic. With this notification of a mock drill, people got really upset. Not upset, but they panicked.
I think it happened long back. We had mock drill in India during the Bangladesh conflict.
That's true. But I would say that, like Israel, or other countries, we should be prepared. We should be always prepared. It's not just about war. It's also about disasters. It's about earthquake. It's about a cloud burst.
You want to look at it as a positive precautionary measure taken for the civilians. It should not be looked at.
In the last time, I think such a notification that had come was almost 15 years back, because I was going through the documents. 15 years back, a notification came that these are the districts where we have arrangements for civil defense or home guards and others, and here we can have possibly some training activity. Since then, I won't say we have been sleeping, but we haven't been as proactive. So I think it's a good move.
I want one answer from you, because I don't want to miss out on this. In 2611, you had mentioned in one of your talks, because you've spoken extensively about how much we had been tracking. We got some SIM cards also planted out there, and somehow we got them back, and that's how we got awakened that they've got activated. Do we really get to an understanding that terror ever can be transformed? The terrorist, like you said in that interview also, is there a chance that reformation is a part of it? And then also we missed when the SIM card came in India. We got to know the information later. We got activated about it later. So are we into the phase where we are giving chance to the terrorists or militants or separatists to either plant them? Are we planting them, or are we looking at transforming them, reforming them? Where are we headed? And again, are we missing out the cues from them? What is the point of doing such a strategy of planting out the SIM card and not following up, and missing it for a major mishap to happen and take lives?
No. Usually what happens is that, intelligence agencies and police and etc. work in a very different manner. The SIM cards were not planted only for the fact that terror can be stopped. It is often also to collect evidence. It's also to keep a trail of situation. So sometimes, unfortunately, it happens that, that you cannot avert a terror attack. But tomorrow, when Pakistanis want to claim that this was not an Islamist attack, there was Hindus who were trying to do that. Obviously, you have all the evidence.
Yes.
You have phone recordings of Sajid Mir, one of the masterminds of the Mumbai 2611, giving instructions to people in Kabad house that these Jews need to be killed. Kill them. And the Jews were begging, don't kill us. Similarly, in Taj Hotel or, other points. So, I think that brave police officer from Kashmir who planted these SIM cards, at least I think a dozen or 2 dozen of them, did a very important strategic thing, and that was of great help to the Indian agencies. Secondly, in Pakistan, they don't care. How would you expect reforms where the entire country, the deep state, is supporting jihadist mentality, is brainwashing common youth in Punjab who do not have jobs, who haven't studied enough to conduct these terror attacks? SSG commandos of Pakistan Army being brainwashed into joining, terror ranks, because they retire from the army at an early age. Commandos, they can't move beyond probably 35 or 36.
They look very young. They look
really young, but they're smart. They are very agile. They actually can be used. So that's what Pakistan Army does, because they need money. and they are recruited for these terror activities. So there's no question of reform.
Okay.
But lastly, I would tell you that there's a growing fear in Pakistan over the last 3 years. And this fear is because of the unknown gunmen. There is this unknown gunman on the streets of Pakistan who's been eliminating these former terrorists. One terrorist also, who is responsible for the Kandahar hijacking, was killed in Karachi. Again,
just Pakistan, like a Robin Hood in the system.
Pakistan has been blaming India for this. Again, no evidence, nothing. But there's this unknown gunman on the streets of Pakistan.
And we are okay to take this kind of blame. I think it goes on as a badge on our shoulder. If there's somebody wiping off terrorism, I mean, India.
I'll give you an example. When the 7th October attacks happened in Israel,
yes,
it was a very unfortunate attack, but it was also the failure of Israeli intelligence agency.
Now we're questioning our intelligence. Look at their high technology.
Imagine, yes. Mossad is the best, Shin Bet is the best in the world, and yet they couldn't predict 1,500. I mean, so many of terrorists coming from air, from water, and from the earth. So finally, the Mossad and Israel took pledge that in the next 1 year, we will eliminate all the masterminds of this terror attack.
Okay.
And they made it happen. They said they could hide anywhere in the world, but we will go after them and kill them. They made it happen. They killed them in Lebanon. They killed them in Tehran. They killed them anywhere all across Gaza and other places.
It was continuous war that was continuous.
One is war, but then selectively choosing, finding out, and targeting the masterminds of this terror.
That's called like precision targeting, like you just precisely.
So what stops India?
Are we ready for that? Do we stand there with our?
The Indian government needs to decide that if the unknown gunman is already scaring the Pakistanis, then anything can happen.
Last question, Aditya. I don't want to take all your time because I really want a sit-down podcast with you. With you, one can go as deep as going into a sea. I don't want to even touch the emotional side of you connected to Kashmir. That is another part of you that I would want to know. Globally, you have been one. I mean, there's so many things you have been speaking about. UN military observer groups should be removed. And you have attended so many international summits. Do you think, are we seriously now internationally, they're taking the stand that India has against terrorism? Is it being taken internationally now seriously? Or is it just again a hogwash to just, pacify us for the situation that it's okay, we're there with you? Are we in that stage? 1? 2, in the scenario of other wars going around, Ukraine, Russia, Israel, Gaza, everything going around, is this just a mind diversion for the bigger picture where we are a small plug? Are we a small plug into the bigger game that's happening of Islamic takeover, as people see? Is there an Islamic takeover happening around the world if we keep India just out of? Are we in that space and India is just a diversion of mind for everyone?
Firstly, Anku, the United Nations has completely failed when it comes to terrorism, when it comes to counter-terrorism. There's literally nothing apart from designations of the 1267 Committee of the UN that the UN has done over the years. 25 years back, we had brought in a convention against terrorism for a global voice against terrorism to define terrorism and to stand against terrorism in all its manifestations. And yet the UN failed. The UN members could not arrive at a common definition of terrorism. So the UN, when
it's like an ongoing trial goes on in court. It's like that with you.
Yeah. So when the Secretary General comes out and says that, I condemn this terrorism, but there should be de-escalation, ridiculous. What kind of a statement are you conveying to the people? That you're condemning terrorism at the same time you're saying de-escalation. You should be at the forefront of countering terrorism.
Yes.
You should be at the forefront of accepting that how UN has failed over the last many decades to counter terrorism. So the UN has failed. But what has happened is that the terrorism that India has suffered over the years, the terrorism that also Afghanistan suffered for many years, is now for last few years knocking at the doors of Europe, is knocking at the doors of United States. Now, people in Europe are getting the feel of what this terrorism is all about. There are lone wolf attacks that are happening. There are people associated with ISIS, even Pakistan, who are conducting these terror attacks.
Are they fearing Islamic takeover or are they fearing terrorism? Be very clear. Where are we headed?
Mix of both. The far right could be experiencing or saying that it could be an Islamic takeover, and that's why they're against immigration as well. And there is rise of xenophobia. But the reality is that there are terror attacks happening. There are lone wolf attacks happening. Look at France. Look at Sweden. Look at Germany. Look at Denmark. So all these attacks over the years clearly signify that Europe, the West as a whole, has failed in countering terrorism. And whenever India told them that, here is the problem of terrorism, they looked the other way. They said, it's your problem. We can deal with it later. The US also woke up after 9/11, but then again did not see it as a global problem, as a global threat. So I think
they took it upon themselves. It is our thing. We'll take care of it.
Exactly. So Jaishankar, India's External Affairs Minister, said something very significant. He said, we are looking for partners and not preachers. So enough of preaching that is happening from the European side, sometimes even from United States. Although right now Trump is perhaps on the same page with India minus the tariffs. But as of now, I see a growing coordination between many of the Western countries and India. And especially I would point out US, France, Italy, Israel, Russia, Japan, and Australia. These are very steadfast supporters of India, very important strategic partners, and we will go a long way with these countries.
India is in the sweet spot somewhere globally.
Of course, India cannot be ignored.
Like even China cannot ignore. Our trade bonding everywhere is quite compulsive for any country to not go all out against us at any point.
Exactly. I mean, one of the reasons that this attack is also taking place, I mean, it's being discussed, I don't know if that's the reason, is to crumble the economic activity of India. To show India that, if this war happens with Pakistan, of course, our major budgets, its activity, money would be diverted towards the war.
It's derailing the growth of the country.
It will derail further. I mean, India could be the third largest economy, but this war could bring that down to the sixth or seventh largest economy. So that is one of the reasons. I mean, when China has been isolated and there's a tariff war underway between US and China, and there is, of course, the court and trying to checkmate China. So, of course, these things are being discussed as well, that how close is the association between China and Pakistan? What is China's motive in this entire exercise? While China wants better ties with India because of this tariff war, but what is the long game that China is playing at this particular stage? So yes, you need to also study what Prime Minister Modi has been saying for the last 3 years. He's been saying this is not an era of war. He's been saying that solutions cannot be found in the battlefield. So you don't expect that kind of a person who's like a peacenik, who's trying to bring everybody on the same table for diplomacy and dialogue to go on a war. So he will explore every possibility under the ambit of diplomacy, economic measures, Western pressure, FATF, etc. And war will be a last option. I'm not saying that war is not an option. I'm saying it will be the last option. And military is prepared. There are multiple options that they have, but they'll do it calmly.
What is your message for the people who suffered it emotionally, and how to protect? Like today, tourists are scared to go anywhere. They don't want to go back to Kashmir. What is your way of helping anyone, all who have been injured mentally, some directly hit out? How do you want us to take it? I mean, people sitting at the helm, even journalists are very powerful in the position to take, protect themselves. What about the civilians? They don't know whether we should step out of our cities. Anything can happen. It's an open call. Our lives are at stake because everybody doesn't end up understanding things at this level. So what is your take for the country people to not get
Firstly, I'll tell them that be aware, be aware of what's happening in your surroundings. Watch news, of course, and don't trust every WhatsApp forward or everything that you read on social media. You need to double check everything you read. Don't just randomly forward things to 10 people or 100 people. First read about the things and, doubly check it. Because often what's happening right now, and this is called psychological information warfare, that a lot of fake news is planted by Pakistan in India. It can be anything. It can be about attack. It can be about, hacking. It can be about any particular thing.
This is like misusing AI.
Yes. Misusing AI, misusing social media, misusing AI to put fear in the minds of people. So don't worry, don't panic. Secondly, although I don't see an immediate escalation of war happening, but who knows, anything can happen. So you need to be prepared for that. I'm not saying that the entire country will be entangled in war. Whatever will happen will mainly happen in the border areas. Yes. But you need to be prepared for anything and everything. I mean, we as Kashmiri Pandits have suffered this terrorism since 1990. We moved to Jammu, then came to Delhi, and then spread out in other parts of the world. But you need to realize that there are army men, there are navy men, there are air force soldiers, etc. who are fighting for us. And we need to be behind them. and be prepared for any kind of an eventuality. When it comes to our land, when it comes to our people, when it comes to such cowardly and dastardly terror attacks, one can't be a mute spectator. One can't look the other way. So I think in time to come, there will be a strong response. But the thing is that if there is a military response from us, then Pakistan will target the military. If there is some other kind of response on critical infrastructure, etc., or businesses, then there will be similar response from Pakistan. So Pakistan has already pledged that whatever India does, Pakistan will do twice bigger than that. So that's what India is preparing for.
One question we have someone sending for you, just one I'll read out because I've actually crossed time that you'd given me. In the 5 years since the abrogation of Article 370, what do you see as the most significant change in the growing reality of Kashmir, which you said is development, especially in terms of radicalization among the youth, security, prospects for genuine political reconciliation? So is there a one-line answer to this in terms of the
firstly, the biggest change that I saw is a small thing. Is the Indian tricolor flying at Lal Chowk.
Wow.
Lal Chowk was the epicenter of this terror ecosystem, this ecosystem of radical Islamist separatists who used to shut Lal Chowk, who used to do massive protests at Lal Chowk. And the thing is that while we have seen a lot of changes in the last 5 or 6 years in the Kashmir Valley, it will take time to change the mentality of the people. It will take time to bring down radicalization. It will take time to change Kashmir completely. Nothing can happen overnight. I mean, a place which has seen 3 wars and 4 decades of conflict and terrorism and bloodshed, nothing can change overnight. But in the last 6 years, I see a lot of change. Even if there are 100 people coming out to protest in a particular district, that's a huge resounding change. I haven't seen these 100 people, and you can't always say कि इनको भाई पैसे खरीद के आपने लाया था. These are
and it took
people.
So much in the country, so many years to get those 100 people out on street.
Exactly. I mean, I have many Kashmiri Muslim youth telling me that, we are more patriotic than you, we are more Indian than you, test us. And we will do whatever is possible. So I think there is a change that is coming. It will take time. And this terrorism, this kind of activity that has happened in Pahalgam, this terror attack, is also a testament to the fact that things are changing. And that's why, Pakistan couldn't do anything for last 6 years. But this massive attack has happened after 6 years. I think Indian intelligence agencies, security forces will also do course correction. Yes. And in the last 30 years, we have also seen these attacks. There have often been times when tourism has come down completely, but it has swung up also. I mean, in the last 6 years, or particularly last 3 to 4 years, the kind of tourism that's been witnessed is phenomenal. I mean, not in lakhs, but crores.
It's the time that we should check our happiness. Whenever we stay very happy, we should obviously check that somebody might be eyeing our happiness. The tourism was increasing, Kashmir was getting inclusive, and suddenly, nazar lag gayi. Somebody was eyeing it very badly. And Aditya, I should give it to you, because when you used to say about all these things, it would not come so close as when we actually experience it now. So your experience is something that I think every individual in the country has gone through. I mean, you left it when you were 9 months old. So we really don't know what you left then. And you had been voicing it continuously for years as an activist, you're a lawyer's son, you're a journalist. I don't know what all you have done to stake your life even today. I mean, the kind of threats you endure is just not something with which you still smile and sit. So with that, I think everybody has now experienced what you guys might have even felt for a night through it. So
absolutely.
It's not a good experience, but I think the taste has come to all. It is something very traumatizing, because people gone out from India to Kashmir had to go through it. It was not like you were staying in Kashmir and you faced it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It has been a thing, and we can very much relate to what the way you have come out after Pahalgam. I think when I saw your tweet, it was just like we felt like you have got hit. That was the kind of pain all through. You've been working frantically. I mean, I don't think there is any time slot that we ask for and you say, I'm not available. So it is not something else. Something else is in you, which I don't know what you're looking for to find peace in this state. But there is something which you still want the country to achieve. So hats off to that, Aditya. And it's not just because I was lucky, I know you somehow, but I really feel lucky you're still available for people to just put this point through that get inclusive.
Anytime.
So it takes a lot. Thank you so much. I think the country we also celebrate you in the country for We don't see as heroes only in the army costume or the army uniform, but we also see heroes in you, because nobody knows what it takes for journalist or someone like you, such a young age, to just openly put yourself out. You don't even have a protection, physical or mental. So thanks for being that soldier in the country, and your family. You just got married. Congratulations on that. But it takes.
Thank you so much, Anku.
Thank you
Thanks.
so much for this. We will try our best, and we will try to follow you more, because the authentic information I got from your channel, I have seen people call me and say, just follow Aditya. He's just given us there what is happening. We don't want narratives. I think you don't set narratives. You just tell us what it is. So is there a reason you don't like setting narratives? You don't play in the same media gallo?
Job of a journalist is to just factually report whatever. I mean, I don't want to go there as this, one of this famous old editors went to Kashmir and try to set a narrative of everything peace and calm, not actually reporting the reality. I mean, he should have been on the front line and actually telling people what the reality
is. What makes you fearless? You don't fear life and death? What is that about you?
I mean, whenever death has to come, it will come. I mean, if my parents have suffered worse, we lost everything in Kashmir and then we stood on our own merit without begging. That says a lot. So I've seen the worst in my parents, that they have suffered so much immensely and they did not let me suffer. And that's the story of every Kashmiri Pandit in many ways.
Please do more lives. You would love to see your lives and give us more perspective as much you can.
I'll try my best. Thank you. Thanks.